Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm ScrapMan, bringing you another episode of Scrap Mechanic, and today is the day. I've spent so much time. I actually took all day yesterday, about 12 hours straight, making the world that we are in right now. And this is, like, I'm really proud of this. I'm really proud of what we were able to do here. We got 4 factions. We got a battlefield in the middle of this thing. And in this episode, we're going to look at all of the tiles that have been finally chosen and selected for the world, as well as some changes that have been made to some of the tiles. And I'll go into a little bit of detail about what I had to do to make this world work. Why did it take me 12 hours to do this? All right, well, before we take a first-person look at it, I'm actually gonna hop over into the world builder so we can just get a bird's eye view that isn't clouded by the fog, and we could just see kind of everything from a distance with slightly less detail since not all of the assets are visible from that view, but at least you can see how the world is melding together. All right, here is the 4-faction medieval fantasy world. So in the lower left-hand corner, we have the 2 large human tiles and then the extra large human tile. You may remember I asked you guys to give feedback on a couple of large human tiles, and I took your feedback into consideration, and one of the biggest things was that you liked the tile that had the big mound. Many of you wanted to see a castle on top of a mound because that's a good strategic standpoint. So I've actually taken a lot of the tiles that you guys have submitted, and in order to make the colors all consistent, like especially in like the dragon area and the orc area, you can see all these tiles are the same color around the edges, so the edges match. I actually had to do some rearranging of the tile files so I could personally edit the tile submissions to fit in this world. So I also took the liberty of modifying some of the submissions to better fit some of the goals and the purposes of this world. For example, this mound now has some more defined edges and rocks to kind of like, we're going to be on top of like a rocky mound here. And I think the castle is going to look excellent on that. All of the elf stuff remained pretty much untouched. I did have to change the ground colors of all of these dragon tiles to fit together, especially this one was very, very light, so I had to make it fade out to black or like the darker color so it could mesh with all these. And some of you may remember this tile right here. These used to be all black, like dark, dark, dark black. I felt like the rock color of just pure black kind of stood out, didn't really fit that well, so I actually went in and matched all of these rocks to match the big tile over here. And that probably took a couple hours alone just on that. But it looks amazing, especially when you look inside. You can see there's like a green little sanctuary in there, and I think that's going to be excellent for the hatchlings. Then we got our orc section, and a lot of you voted for the mound orc tile, but I did make a modification to it so it has a little bit more of a defensive purpose. Rather than this area just being right on top of like a mound with an angle, I actually recessed it a little bit so you can see that the mound has a bit of like a ridge going all the way around it, which I think gives it a little bit more of a strategic standpoint. And then I just flattened this area out so then placing buildings for the orcs will just be much easier, much more convenient. And then what took even more time was I had to create individual transitional tiles between all of the different sections. So from the center area here, this is the battlefield, by the way. It was actually modified from one of the submissions as well. You can see there's some like blood stains from battles that have already occurred and stuff. And each corner is actually slightly themed towards the corner of the map that the faction is in. So there's some trees that are representing the elves. There's some rocks here that are representing the dragons. There's some wood assets that aren't really spiky wood things that aren't showing up because we're in the world builder right now that represents the orcs. And there's really nothing for the dwarfs. It's just more of like an open area. But I had to create individual small tiles that are bordering the entire center. I have center to orc, center to dragon, center to elf, and center to human. There are like little different things that are in here, like flowers for the elves and little bushes and stuff for the humans. And then I had to have dragon to dragon transitions, dragon to orc transitions, orc to orc transitions, orc to human transitions, dragon to elf transitions, and every single area of those, I made 2 different various tiles, so they're not just copy and paste the same exact tile over and over. You can see there's 2 different variants going on in between each one. And then even harder than that was the corners of the center. This is a tile right here that is dragon on one half, orc on a quarter, and then center battleground on another corner. So that is its own individual tile to be able to get this corner to kind of meld together. And that's its own corner, that's its own corner, that's its own corner too. So I just spent all day making these tiles and modifying these tiles to just meld together in the best way that I saw possible. So now let's take a closer look so we can actually see what this world feels like in first person, and we can go over building possibilities, because from this week to next week, I'm going to be looking at the actual creations. We might start with the castle over here, but there's all kinds of possibilities for different creations for all the different factions, and that's what we're going to be discussing for the rest of this episode as we explore this new amazing world that I'm super excited about. All right, so let's fly around and take a look. So here you can see in a little bit more detail the battleground area. I did delete a lot of the trees because the initial tile was a little bit dense, and I want to make sure that if we're going to have like war weaponry and vehicles that might be used on the battlefield, we don't want them to be getting stuck on a bunch of different objects. So I tried to make sure that there was enough clearance area for the objects to get through. But as I mentioned before, over in this corner by the orc area, you can see there are these spiky things that are just kind of representing that the orcs are over here. Let's start off with the human area, because this is where I spent some of the most time modifying the tile, because this is going to be the most significant tile right here. So I did make sure that all of these areas in between the roads are perfectly flat now. So we have tons of space to build little villages, markets, and things like that. Like I figure these grassy areas that we're flying over right now is where we can have medieval houses and villages. They can line the roads here. And then I figured for these open areas of the roads where the road kind of circles out, that could be like markets and stuff where people have like food stands and things like that. So that's something to think about as far as creations go. But now the major area, the big thing that I spent the most time modifying was this hill here. So this is going to be our castle, or where our castle is. We're going to have the big draw gate right here, or I don't know how the gate's going to work, but that's going to be right here at the entrance. I tried to make sure that we had a nice gradual slope there. We also got a side exit over here that leads out to the pond so that our people in the castle can get some water or whatever they need from the pond. Maybe there's some fish over there too. But yeah, imagine, I hope we can build it. I'm thinking it's going to be less laggy than the future military base, because the future military base wall, I think, was much bigger than this. And not only that, but the wall was really, really complex. But we're just going to be using like the basic brick blocks, I think, for this one here. So hopefully we'll be able to line this whole area with castle walls and not have to worry about lag too much. All right, so then that brings us over to the large tiles of the human area that were chosen. I mean, obviously we have this one. This one I knew was going to be going in when I first saw it. It's just an awesome area. We can have like a little hermit over here or something in that open area that just kind of lives by himself. And there's definitely some recreational stuff we can probably put over here too. There's some roads and stuff down there. And then we have this one over here, which used to have that really awkward looking bridge thing, but I decided to delete that so we can build our own bridge that's going to be a little bit more traversable, hopefully. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, the human area just has some decent water and stuff. So let's head over to the orc area, and I'll show you the modification I made to the tile that you guys voted for. So it used to just be a mound that goes straight up, and now you can see as we approach it, we get like the water going all around the sides. But you can see that we have it recessed, and I think that this is actually a really awesome look. I kept everything else on the tile, like all the rocks are pretty much in their original places. I just had to lower them as I recessed this. But this is actually kind of huge. This is a lot of space for the orcs. So think about what kind of structures we can have that are orc themed. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what I'm going to have to choose from when it comes to those. I'm getting some weird frame issues right now. I don't know if you guys are seeing that too, or if it's my recording software. But yeah, this tile is amazing. I'm loving the way it looks. We got the road going down, and this road leads into this like kind of stronghold tile over here. And I figured I kind of situated it so that the entrance or exit to this is quick access to the major tile over there, just in case the forces need to come together really quick. There's just an easy direction to go for that. And then we got that direction over there. And I added this this big rock area just because I felt like the orc area needed a little bit more rocks. So I just added this area of rocks over here, but everything else is pretty much the same on this tile, except I changed the colors so that it fit a little bit better. And then we got this tile over here. I didn't really change much with this other than the border colors to fit with the rest. And then as we go over here into the dragon area, you can see the transition between the orcs and the dragons. This whole line right here transitions from one texture to another and one color to another, although it's pretty subtle between the dragons and the orcs. The dragon's just a little bit darker than the orcs. So then, of course, we have this amazing tile right here. I just had to darken the edges so that it melded with the transitional tiles. So I did make one modification to this tile, and I haven't tested it out yet. I hope I did it right. But you guys may remember that there was this broken down staircase over here. Was it over here? Yep. There was a broken down staircase over here, and there was no way to really get up it. So what I did, and I hope I did it in a way that I can do the way that I intended, is I've added a few more steps that are kind of collapsing. Here we go. So you can see there's that staircase right there. So that I added like these steps that are supposed to look like they fell down. And I'm hoping that I can just use this. Oh, there we go. Come on. There we go. And then I added this step in here too. And then we're back onto the normal tile. And yes, now we can actually walk up this without having to build something or fly to get up here. Okay, cool. So this is now traversable by foot. That's the only real major modification that I changed to this other than the texture colors around the edges. Sorry if it feels like I'm rushing through this. We have like a lot of things to look at. We're looking at the entire world and all the modifications that were made. Oh, this is bad. This is bad. This is bad. I can do this. There we go. Tip forward. All right, we recovered. Okay, so let's get out of here and go on to, oh yeah, this one here. Man, I wish the tile builder just had like a drag to select all thing, because I had to click individually on every single one of these rocks in order to change the color, unless I'm missing something. But not only did I change all of the black rocks to gray, but I also changed the bright blue rocks that were supposed to be kind of icy rocks. I changed them to white to match the other tiles that used white for the snowy peaks as well. So you can see we got the white rock there, we got the white rock over there, and then somewhere we have like the floating rock. Oh, is it over here? I think I just saw it up here. Yep, then we got that floating one right there that's also white. So yeah, I also made it so that the entrance, I now know the entrance that I had against the wall that we were kind of trapped is right in this big area here. So this actually leads now, it opens up to the main tile, the main dragon tile, I mean. This is what it looks like to go in here. I kind of like modified this road here so it kind of transitions from like the rocky texture into the green. And now we're going into the haven for the newborn dragon. So I think if we have some newborn dragon creations, it'd be really cool to put them. We're not quite there yet. I'm gonna go ahead and keep walking, and we're gonna get to the like little oasis that is waiting. Like, I guess it's gonna be like a nest, like a hatchling nest, not for eggs, but for actual hatch dragonlings or whatever you call them. Man, this is really a long way. Oh, here it is. Okay, we're getting there. So yeah, how cool would it be to create a little community of dragonlings that are just hanging out here, and we can have them in like different positions. Some of them can be like drinking from the water, other of them can be like hanging out. Maybe we can even weld some like perched on top of like, there's a rock pillar right there and stuff. So yeah, I think this is going to be a really cool tile, and I am really happy, despite how long it took, I'm happy that I decided to change all the colors so it just fits in the world so much better with the other tiles. It's like we actually collaborated on the tiles here. All right, so now I gotta find my way back out of here. All right, and we found our way back out. Here's our flyer. We'll head over to that dragon tile and then over to the elf area. Oh yeah, and then here's some of like the transitional tiles. We're in like the single small tile row of the transitional dragon tiles. So these are dragon to dragon, and you can see there's just some rocks. There's some little spiky things that are a little bit like tipped with red. They're kind of based off of that tile over there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, so now we have the big tile. Oh boy, that's terrible. We got the big dragon tile, which of course is the one with the huge dragon hidden inside. I didn't make any changes to this thing other than making sure that the border was all a consistent color. It's pretty much exactly the way that we saw it in that video. So if you didn't see what's inside this mountain, make sure you go check out that video. I forget. I think it was the second tile episode. I don't know. But then here you can see, this is where the transitional tiles were tough. Going from dark, like black, to bright green, this was not easy. So I made it a little bit moundy just so it's not completely flat. But yeah, so you can see the texture changes and the color changes dramatically. We go from rocky to grassy and from black to green. So I tried to make it look like the green was being a little bit contaminated by the darkness of the dragon and monster area. Because remember, it's not just dragons necessarily that we'll be seeing over here. The dragons are like the dominant species here, but I think other monsters are welcome. They'll be present. Other monsters will be present. But yeah, you can see. Oh no, I made a mistake there. That's annoying. I guess I must have modified the terrain height without looking at that. But you know what? You know what? This is the elves. The elves have magical abilities. Maybe their trees and flowers float. Or I could just modify them and it'll update in the world anyway. So yeah, that was an oversight on my part. I don't know how that happened. I really don't know how that happened. So yeah, I'll have to fix that. But yeah, my intent here with these trees is these are some of the trees you can see in the elf area, especially on that tile over there. So I put them kind of in the transition between the elf and the dragon, but I kind of ashed them a bit. So they look really ashy, like they haven't been having a good time. They're not green. They're not vibrant, so they've definitely been contaminated by the darkness that emanates from the monster realm. So yeah, then for the large tiles in the elf area, here you can see the transition now between the battleground and the elf area. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's really hard to create smooth edges. I could probably modify some of the colors there, though. There's some dark corners for some reason. But we got this one, which is just an amazing elf tile. Tons of room for little structures that can go on all of these plateaus and stuff. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we might be able to stack into here. And then we have this other large tile behind it that I think looks awesome. We can have a much bigger elf community built up here. There's tons of possibilities in the elf world. I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of architectural themes you guys are gonna come up with. And then of course, we have this gigantic tile, which I didn't really make any modifications to the elf tiles themselves. These are kind of, they were just good as is. And because they were just the basic green grass texture, there wasn't really any color modification I had to do either. So yeah, I think that pretty much sums up what I spent all day doing, was just making sure that all of these tiles fit together, that there were transitions in between them, especially like these corners of the center here, like this right here. I'm in the middle of one tile, and we have 3 different color areas that had to all be meshed together. And I kind of pulled it off. I mean, it's not great, but it's much better than a hard line, like the world would have been if I didn't do any of this. So I am really looking forward to some feedback. Leave me some comments on what you think about what you see in this world so far. What do you like about it? Are there any adjustments you think I should make? What I can do is modify the tiles that are currently in the world as far as what's on them. And if there's any major mistakes that I seem to have made, then let me know so I can fix it before we start building permanent structures. Because if we make a major modification to a tile, like turning it or substituting it for another tile file name or something, even if it's just like slightly different, then I have to create a new world, because for some reason those changes don't register. Whereas if I just make a modification to the tile itself, like changing colors or terrain height or adding assets, those can update in the world. So which area are you most looking forward to seeing creations showcased from? We got 4 factions. Which is your favorite faction so far? What are you most looking forward to? And do you have any suggestions for the creators who are going to be submitting creations? What would you like to see in this world? I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to the castle. Should we start with the castle? I don't know. There's so many directions we can go. Well, like 4 directions. But a bunch of directions to go in each of those 4 directions, though. There's a bunch of branches. We're on the tree of medieval fantasy life here, and there's a bunch of branches that we're going to venture off into. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this series develops. But anyway, I'm going to wrap things up here. I'm super excited about this. Hope you are too. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the future episodes. This has been ScrapMan, and I'll see you next time. Bye.